I know how it is to be in a toxic relationship where there's a lot of push and pull, there's breaking up and getting back together again, there's shutting down or going silent or breaking up. I know how it is to be in a toxic relationship where there's a lot of push and pull, cutting ties, breaking up, shutting down, going silent, and then coming back again and being in that pattern, whether that's how your relationship is or that's how your past relationship was long term. I know I did that as a substitute for knowing how to securely receive love. I was very comfortable loving, but I didn't really have any expectations, familiarity, capacity for being loved, nor did I feel safe or reassured that someone was able to love me. I didn't feel lovable. And if they did love me, like I said, I didn't even have the familiarity or capacity to receive it, but I also didn't trust it or expect it to stay there. And that's 100% insecurity, a lack of healthy relationship modeling in childhood, and all of my childhood wounds coming up to the surface in a romantic relationship, which is exactly what happens. So whatever we learned from our parents when we were in the last trimester of being in the womb and in our early childhood is exactly what we apply in our romantic relationships. So you can end up in these dysfunctional patterns that are very draining, where you're not actually having a loving relationship and you're in substituting this power battle for love because you don't feel secure with the love. So it's that you have to get angry or that you have to make some sort of power move or control. You want to control whether or not that person stays or goes. You want to control the love, and you're irate and you're scrambling for some sort of way to have an effect on the situation because there's no belief in your own worth, in your own value. There's no trust in being loved. So immediately you lose your stability in this push and pull thing, and you put your stability and into this power struggle and into this back and forth. And so there will be moments in that whole dynamic that feel like true connection and true love and like passion is created by that. But over time, it's extremely draining. And I went through this with my early relationships, and I didn't have the help and the support to see it for what it was and to heal what needed to be healed and to become secure in myself so that I could have secure and healthy relationships where in a secure and healthy relationship, there's not this on and off where things are black and white. There's a whole spectrum and there's a whole capacity for variation. And there's the ability to reconcile in a healthy way and to talk about things in a healthy way. It's not black and white. It's not scary. It's not something you need to get super upset about and punish the person or control. So if I had had help at a younger age, then I wouldn't have kept doing this through the time that I had children. And even after the time I had children, to the point that it just didn't even make sense to be in a relationship anymore. So this is something that if you're going through this right now, and this is your experience in your early relationships, and you don't do the kind of work that I do, like in my 6-month package, the first segment, the first phase is making the unconscious conscious. So this is really understanding what we did learn and what wounds we did experience, which is kind of just what you learned. You know, it doesn't even mean that someone hurt you. It means that your wholeness and belief and trust and safety were never learned correctly or never formed. So if you're a really loving person, you're probably looking for your soulmate and ready to start a family. But if you're already having these patterns, then it's not going to look like what you hope it's going to look like if you haven't done this work. And you end up with more trauma which is damaging. You're holding this in your nervous system. So your nervous system is more full of fear. So life gets really hard and relationships just get harder. If you have anxious attachment, you get more anxious. If you get easily activated and easily high off of loving someone, because that's really what you do, is you really love someone more than you feel like you get loved. And in loving someone, you probably feel much more lovable and in love with yourself. But you're really not in this secure system of love and relationship and healthy relationship. Someone who has your back, someone who's there when you reach out your hand. So you end up with more trauma, more anxiety in relationships, more instability in relationships, more activation, more destabilization. When you fall in love, you just completely go wild, which also will repel secure men for sure. So it's important to do this work. It has to get done. If you haven't done it, I prefer people to do it before you have children, but if you haven't, regardless, it just has to get done. If this sounds like you and it sounds like something that might be helpful, feel free to just send me a message, or you can tell me a little bit about yourself through the link in my bio and schedule a free consultation. This push and pull that I would get involved in, which the men were always better at than I was. It was me putting my value in something outside of myself. It was even just putting my value in my looks or my sexiness, or me putting my value in manipulation and how I could make them feel bad and make them miss me. And, it was all coming from anger and fear and the need for control as a substitute for actual safe love, as a substitute for secure and healthy interaction.